You turned on two-factor authentication. You told your staff to do the same. You thought you had ticked the box. So did the 600 AustralianSuper members whose accounts were raided in April last year. So did the thousands of Australians whose retirement savings were targeted across 5 of the country's biggest super funds in a single coordinated attack. And here's the part that should stop you cold. None of those funds were hacked. The systems were never breached. The attackers didn't need to get past their security. They already had the passwords. They bought them online for less than the cost of a round of coffee. Welcome back to Rapid Response, the podcast about cyber threats that are actually hitting Australian organizations right now, and for owners who want straight talk on the cyber threats that are actually coming for them. I'm your host Adversary, and today we are tackling the plot twist that's catching even security-aware businesses off guard. Multi-factor authentication isn't enough anymore, not because it stopped working, but because attackers stopped trying to get past it. Instead, they're going around it. In this episode, we're going to talk about how they are doing it, which Australian businesses have already paid the price, what you need to do now, and a 30-day action plan you can actually implement without needing a dedicated IT team. Let's start with why we are even having this conversation. For the last few years, multi-factor authentication has been the number one piece of advice handed out to every business in Australia. Turn it on, problem solved, move on. And look, that advice wasn't wrong. MFA absolutely works. It stops the most common attack on the planet. Someone getting hold of your password and logging in as you. Credential stuffing, brute force, password spray attacks, MFA blocks them all. The Australian Signals Directorate, the government's own cybersecurity authority, still lists MFA as one of the essential 8 controls every business should have. That hasn't changed. But here is what has changed. Attackers are running a business. They have the tools, they have budgets, they have KPIs. And when a security control starts blocking their revenue, they don't give up. They innovate. 3 new techniques are now being used at a scale against Australian businesses. They don't crack your MFA. They don't even try. They route around it entirely. By the end of this episode, you'll understand all 3. And exactly how to defend against them. Let's look at some interesting stats. Identity-based attacks rose 32% in the first half of 2025 alone. More than 97% of those attacks relied on stolen credentials. Not exploits, not hacking, not sophistication. Just your username and your password. They have already purchased it and they are already waiting. Let's take a deep dive into the 3 bypass methods targeting Australian businesses right now. The first method is called session hijacking. And to understand it, I want you to think about how a website actually knows you are still you. When you log into your accounting software, your email, your business banking, you put in your password, you approve MFA notification, and you are in. Done, verified. But here is what happens behind the scenes. The moment you are authenticated, the website hands your browser a small digital token, a session cookie. It's essentially a temporary pass that says, this device has already proved who they are, let them through without asking again. That token is what keeps you logged in for the next 8 hours, or the next 7 days, or even longer. Now here's the attack. Infostealer malware, a software that silently runs on a device, doesn't bother with your password. It waits until you're logged in. Then it quietly harvests every single session token in your browser from every platform you are connected to. Your email, your CRM, your cloud storage, your payroll system. It packages them up, ships them to the attacker's server. Often within 48 hours, those tokens are listed for sale. Here are some key stats. In 2025, Infostealer malware was linked to over 94 billion stolen browser cookies circulating on the dark web markets. A full browser dump from a single corporate laptop sells for around $15 to $50 on criminal forums. Verizon's 2025 data breach investigations report says that 54% of ransomware victims had their domain credentials appear in InfoStealer marketplaces before the ransomware attack. 46% of InfoStealer infected devices were unmanaged or BYOD devices. The credential theft wasn't the attack. It was the warning sign no one saw coming. And the brutal part, the attacker doesn't need your password, doesn't need your MFA code. They inject your stolen token into their own browser, and they are you. Your account, your permissions, your data. Sessions often stay valid for days. By the time anyone notices, the attacker has already read your emails, redirected your invoices, and potentially planted the groundwork for a much bigger attack later. Now let's have a look at the second method. This second method sounds like something from a spy thriller. It's called the Adversary-in-the-Middle phishing, AiTM for short. Here is how it works. You get a convincing phishing email. It looks like it's from Microsoft, or Google, or your bank. You click the link, you land on what appears to be a completely genuine login page, because it is. You're actually seeing the real Microsoft login. But here is what you can't see. There's a proxy server sitting invisibly between you and Microsoft. Everything you type is being relayed through the attacker's infrastructure. You type your password, relayed. You get the MFA prompt on your phone, you approve it, relayed. The real Microsoft site says, "Welcome back," and issues a session token, relayed straight to the attacker. You are logged in, nothing felt wrong. And somewhere in the world, an attacker is now logged in as you, right now. Time for some key stats. Microsoft documented a 146% rise in the adversary-in-the-middle attacks in 2024, confirming cybercriminals are actively scaling this technique. Tycoon 2FA, an off-the-shelf AiTM phishing kit, was sold as a subscription service on Telegram and Signal. No hacking skills required. It was disrupted by Europol and Microsoft in March 2026, but operators adapted within weeks. Tycoon 2FA campaigns reached over 500,000 organizations a month globally before disruption. And what do attackers do once they're inside your Microsoft 365 account? They launch business email compromise from your real address, the kind that passes every spam filter because it is genuinely you. They create silent inbox rules that forward your emails to themselves, so they intercept every payment, every invoice, and every supplier communication. Now, either they wait or they move very fast. Change a bank account in supplier record, approve a payroll change, send a request from your email to your accountant. For the Australian small to medium businesses, one of these incidents can cost an average of $56,000, sometimes significantly more. The third method is almost insultingly simple. It's called MFA fatigue or push bombing. And it works because of human nature, not technical weaknesses. The attacker already has your username and password, bought them from the dark web last week. So they try logging in. Your phone gets a push notification. Approve this login. You didn't initiate it, so you hit deny. Another one, deny. Another one, deny. They keep going at 11 p.m., at 2 a.m., every few minutes, for hours. Eventually, one of these three things happen. Someone approves it accidentally, someone approves it to just make it stop, or someone assumes it must be a system glitch and hits approve. That's it. That's the whole attack. Let's have a look at a real-world example from Uber in September 2022. An Uber contractor received a MFA push notifications for more than an hour. The attacker then sent a WhatsApp message posting as a Uber IT support, claiming the notifications were a part of a system fix and would stop once approved. Tired and convinced it was a glitch, the contractor approved the request. Within minutes, the attacker had access to Uber's internal Slack, source code, and security systems. The MFA worked exactly as designed. The human didn't fail, they were simply overwhelmed. This technique is now increasingly paired with voice cloning. The attacker rings your employee impersonating as IT support, tells them that there is a login anomaly and they need to approve the notification to clear it. The voice sounds real. The urgency feels real. The approval happens. So, three methods: session hijacking, adversary-in-the-middle phishing, and MFA fatigue. None of them crack your MFA. They all bypass it. Now let's talk about the Australian businesses that have felt this firsthand. In April 2025, cybercriminals launched a coordinated attack on 5 of Australia's biggest superannuation funds: AustralianSuper, Australian Retirement Trust, Rest, Hostplus, and Insignia Financial. The attack was credential stuffing, feeding stolen username and password combinations bought from dark web marketplaces through automated login tools at scale. AustralianSuper confirmed 600 accounts had login credentials stolen. 10 members lost a combined $500,000. Rest reported around 20,000 accounts accessed. Australian Retirement Trust detected unusual login activity on several hundreds of accounts. AustralianSuper CEO Paul Schroder said in a direct email to members on April 17, 2025, "I want to be clear that AustralianSuper was not hacked. Criminals used stolen passwords and personal identity information from other sources to access accounts and commit fraud. Unlike other recent cyber incidents reported in the media, cybercriminals did not access our systems. The attack started somewhere else entirely: unrelated platforms, old data breaches, leaked credential list." Now think about that from a business perspective. Those credentials did not come from the super funds. They came from everywhere else, such as all online retail accounts, conference registrations, LinkedIn, Adobe, and Ticketmaster. Platforms that had breaches years ago. The same email, the same password, still active. Your staff are doing the same thing right now, using their work email address and password that they have used in 4 other places to log into your business systems. In July 2025, Qantas confirmed a breach affecting up to 5.7 to 6 million customers. And here is what is interesting about this one. It wasn't a technical attack at all. It was a phone call. A hacking group with the hallmarks of Scattered Spider targeted a third-party call center in Manila used by Qantas. Using voice phishing, they impersonated a staff member needing urgent account access. That's the entry point. Up to 6 million customer records that included names, emails, date of birth, frequent flyer numbers were taken through one compromised call center. Now, what does this mean for Australian small to medium businesses? Most Australian small businesses outsource something. IT support, bookkeeping, payroll, customer service are some examples. Every one of those relationships is a potential entry point. The Qantas breach didn't happen through Qantas. It happened through someone they trusted. Your vendor's security is your security. And for the record, Scattered Spider is not a nation state. It's mostly young, English-speaking individuals who use social networking and session hijacking as their primary tools. No exotic malware, no zero-day exploits, just confidence, preparation, and an understanding of how people behave under pressure. Here's the broader context, and I want you to sit with these numbers for a second. Surfshark's quarterly breach analysis, released in April 2026, has reported that in the first quarter of 2026 alone, 1.1 million Australian accounts were exposed. It has also reported that since 2004, 207.2 million Australian accounts leaked cumulatively. Let that sink in. Australia has 26 million people. Constella Intelligence 2026 Identity Breach Report tells us that 48 hours is the median time from infostealer infection to dark web listing. Cyber Threat Intelligence from their 2025 report tells us that 71 Australian data breaches were reported in 2025, up from 48% on 2024. It also reports that a cost of a combo list with millions of credentials will only cost between $10 to $100. All right, I've just spent 10 minutes explaining how attackers are routing around the security control you thought you had. Let me be clear, that was not to make you feel hopeless. It was to make sure that you are defending against the right threat. Here's the honest framing. MFA is absolutely still essential. Turn it on everywhere if you haven't. But in 2026, it is a foundation, not a ceiling. And the businesses that are staying safe are the ones layering defenses above it. Let's go through what that actually looks like in practice. Let's look at defense number 1, upgrade your MFA. Not all MFA is equal. The weakest form, SMS codes, can be intercepted via SIM swapping or relayed in real time through AiTM attacks. Push notifications are better but vulnerable to fatigue attacks. The strongest forms are passkeys and hardware security keys. These are physical devices that cryptographically verify login and are bound to a specific device. They cannot be relayed or stolen remotely because the authentication happens on the physical key, not on a server. So here's an action item to Australian businesses. Start ranking your MFA today. SMS one-time codes are the weakest form of multi-factor authentication. You need to replace them where possible. A better alternative is the Authenticator app such as Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator. These are better than SMS-based one-time codes and are a good baseline in your MFA journey. Passkeys or hardware security keys such as UV keys are the best form of multi-factor authentication. Use these for admin or finance access accounts. For the organization-wide implementation, in Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace, enable phishing-resistant MFA in the admin settings. Disable simple number matching push approvals and require context-aware conditional access instead. Defense number 2 is to implement session controls. If session tokens are the new target, the defense is to reduce their value. It means certain how long sessions can stay active and make sure your systems can revoke them instantly. In Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace, you can configure conditional access policies that limit session token lifetime, require re-authentication after a period of inactivity, and flag sessions accessing your systems from unusual locations or devices. Here is an action item for Australian businesses. Tighten your session settings. In Microsoft 365, set sign-in frequency to 4 to 8 hours for sensitive roles. In Google Workspace, enable session length controls in Admin Console and require re-authentication after 8 hours. Organizations should also review which staffs have persistent stay logged in sessions on shared or personal devices. If you are using single sign-on, check that token expiry is enforced across connected apps. Defense number 3 is to stop the info stealer at the endpoint. Info stealers get onto devices through 4 main routes: fake software downloads, malicious browser extensions, phishing attachments, and poisoned search results. The defense starts at the endpoint, the device itself. Here is an action item for businesses: harden your endpoints. Deploy endpoint detection and response EDR solutions, not just traditional antivirus. Look for tools that specifically flag credential harvesting behaviors. Also review your browser hygiene. Stop your staff from saving password in their browsers and use a password manager. Also manage your browser extensions, only allow approved business-critical extensions, and block personal extension installs on work devices. Where possible, implement application control, only allow approved software to run, and block unknown executables. Defense number 4 is dark web monitoring. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Some of your staff's credentials are probably already circulating on dark web marketplaces. The question is whether you find out now or when an attacker uses them. Dark web monitoring services continuously scan criminal forums and credential marketplaces for your business domain. When your email addresses appear in a breach or a stealer log, you get an alert. You can then force a password reset before the damage is done. Here is an action item. Start monitoring today. You can run a free check. You can go to haveibeenpwned.com and check your business domain. For business-grade monitoring, Microsoft Defender, 1Password, or dedicated services like SpyCloud can also provide dark web monitoring. Also register for ASD's Australian Cybersecurity Centre alerts at cyber.gov.au. It is free, and set a monthly calendar reminder to recheck all of these alerts. Defense number 5 is to train your team on social engineering. Push bombing and phishing, the voice phishing that targeted Qantas call center, succeeded because people are trained to be helpful and to resolve issues quickly. Attackers exploit both. The defense isn't making your staff paranoid. It's giving them a clear, simple protocol that makes the right behavior the default behavior. As an action item, implement these 3 simple rules that every staff member should know. Rule number 1. Never approve unsolicited MFA push notification which you didn't initiate. Reject the notification and report immediately. If the caller says they are from IT, hang up and call the number that you have on file. not the number they gave you. Rule number 3, any urgent request involving money, access, or credentials must be verified via a second channel, a phone call to a known number, a Teams message, or in person. If you're a business owner or a operations manager who is wondering where they should start from, here is a 30-day identity security uplift plan that you can implement without a dedicated IT team. Everything here is actionable, sequenced, and achievable within a month. I've kept each week focused so you are not trying to do everything at once. On week 1, audit and gain some visibility into your business. Run a haveibeenpawned.com domain search on your business email domain. It is free and it only takes 2 minutes. List every system your staff accesses with work credentials, for example, email, accounting, CRM, banking, cloud storage, or payroll systems. Also identify which systems have MFA enabled or not and create a simple spreadsheet. Check which staff have admin or elevated access, list them by name and system, review whether any staff use the same password across systems. You can use your password manager audit tool or a staff survey for this. Register your business domain at cyber.gov.au for ACAC alerts if you haven't already. On week 2, harden your authentication. Enable MFA on every system that supports it. Prioritize by email, banking, accounting, or remote access first. Upgrade SMA-based MFA to Authenticator app codes where possible. Use Google or Microsoft Authenticator. For all admin and privileged finance users, mandate the strongest MFA available. Use a passkey or hardware key where feasible. In Microsoft 365 Admin Center, enable conditional access. Set sign-in frequency to 8 hours for standard users, 4 hours for admins. Also deploy a business password manager. On-password teams or Bitwarden Business start from $3 to $5 per user per month. Finally, require your staff to change password for any credentials that appeared in your week 1 breach check. On week 3, protect your devices and train your team. Audit browser extensions on all work devices and remove anything not business essential. Disable save password in browsers on work devices. This could be done with policy or a manual setting. Run a 20-minute team briefing on MFA fatigue. If you get an approval that you didn't initiate, deny and tell someone immediately. Also establish your callback verification protocols. All IT service requests should be verified by ringing a known IT number. Create a team code word for identity verification in high-pressure situations. Then finally, review your BYOD policy. Any personal devices accessing work emails or systems must have up-to-date OS and PIN or biometric lock at minimum. Then on week 4, monitor, test, and lock in the habit. Set up an ongoing dark web monitoring via your password manager, Microsoft Defender, or a dedicated service. Review your Microsoft 365 or Google sign-ins in audit logs. Look for any logins from unusual countries or devices in the last 90 days. Also audit your third-party vendors, ask your IT provider, bookkeeper, and key software vendors what their MFA and access controls look like. Simulate a MFA push notification bombing scenario in your next team meeting, evaluate if they know the protocol, then document your new protocols in one-page security reference card for the staff. And finally, set a recurring quarterly reminder to recheck all access, repeat the domain breach search, and review admin accounts. Now let's bring this home. MFA is not the enemy. MFA is your friend. It is still one of the single most effective security controls you can run in your business. Don't turn it off. Don't let anyone tell you it's pointless. Turn it on everywhere. Credential stuffing uses the password you gave away somewhere else. Session hijacking waits until you have authenticated. Adversary-in-the-Middle phishing intercepts the token before it reaches you, and push bombing turns your approval habit against you. None of these are unstoppable. Every single one of them has a practical, affordable defense, stronger MFA types, session controls, endpoint hygiene, dark web monitoring, staff protocols, and a password manager. None of these requires a dedicated IT team. None of it requires a big budget. It only requires 30 days of deliberate action. Australian businesses lose an average of $56,000 per cyber incident. The tools to stop the incident I described today cost a fraction of that. The math is not complicated. Start with week 1 from today's plan. Run the Have I Been Pawned domain check tonight. It takes only 2 minutes. what you find might be the most important 2 minutes you have invested in your business this month. If the episode was useful, share it with other business owner, forward it to your operations manager, post it in your industry group. The SMBs that get hit hardest are the ones who haven't heard any of these yet. I'm your host Adversary. This is Rapid Response. Back next episode with another threat that's targeting Australian businesses right now and exactly what to do about it. Stay sharp, stay ahead.